Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Agana Timarandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stabitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijna Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishavana Suradevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patidanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavad-Gita as it is, translation and commentary by Srila Prabhupada. So today is 14th chapter, 3 modes of material nature, and text number 10. So, please repeat. Rajas tamas cābhibhūya sattvam bhavati bhārata rajasattvam tamas caiva tamasattvam rajastada rajatamas cābhibhūya sattvam bhavati bhārata rajasattvam tamas caiva tamasattvam rajastata. Okay, word for word, please repeat. Rajaḥ, the mode of passion. Tamaḥ, the mode of ignorance. Cha, also. Abhibhūya, surpassing. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Bhavati, becomes prominent. Bharata, O son of Bharata. Rajaḥ, the mode of passion. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Tamaḥ, the mode of ignorance. Cha, also. Eva, like that. Tamaḥ, the mode of ignorance. Sattvam, the mode of goodness. Rajaḥ, the mode of passion. Tathā, thus. Translation, Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance, O son of Bharata. Sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way there is always a competition for supremacy. Please repeat. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of Bharata, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. So, purport Srila Prabhupada. When the mode of passion is prominent, the modes of goodness and ignorance are defeated. When the mode of goodness is prominent, passion and ignorance are defeated. And when the mode of ignorance is prominent, passion and goodness are defeated. This competition is always going on. Therefore, one who is actually intent on advancing in Krishna consciousness has to transcend these three modes. The prominence of some certain mode of nature is manifested in one's dealings, in his activities, in eating, etc. All this will be explained in later chapters. But if one wants, that's a reference to 18th chapter, but if one wants, he can develop by practice the mode of goodness and thus defeat the modes of ignorance and passion. One can similarly develop the mode of passion and defeat goodness and ignorance. Or one can develop the mode of ignorance and defeat goodness and passion. Although there are these three modes of material nature, if one is determined, he can be blessed by the mode of goodness, and by transcending the mode of goodness, he can be situated in pure goodness, which is called the Vasudeva state, a state in which one can understand the science of God. By the manifestation of particular activities, it can be understood in what mode of nature one is situated. Yes. So, Makam karochi vachalam pangam laite girim yad kripa tamam vande Shri Gurun Diratarinam. Rajaḥ cābhibhūya sattvam bhavati bhārata. Rajaḥ sattvam tamaś caiva sattvam rajaḥ tathā. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating passion and ignorance. Sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. Yes. So, what we'll do is, we'll go back and recite the verses. I'll read them so that we get the full picture of what's going on. So this is three modes of material nature. And Krishna is explaining why it's important to know about these things, right? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again, I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection." So that's a very brilliant introduction, right? If you understand this knowledge, the best of knowledge, Krishna is repeating it again. That means he's already dealt with it earlier, particularly in the previous chapter. And if you know this, the sages, they know, then we can attain the supreme perfection, right? Why is that? Because if we understand the three modes, then we will become detached from them, and we will know how to become detached from them. As Prabhupada said in today's purport, we should cultivate the mode of goodness, right? That was towards the end of today's purport. Why is that? Prabhupada said, because then you can understand the science of Godhead. And then from goodness, you can go to pure goodness. We'll discuss that in a few minutes. But the point is, if we know how the modes work, and as Prabhupada said, activities, dealings, the way we eat, we sleep, the way we dress, with whom we associate, then we can cultivate the mode that is favorable for transcendental life, right? And not be captured by the lower modes. So anyway, number 2, by becoming fixed in this knowledge, now Krishna is expanding on this point, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. So Krishna is expanding on the first verse, right? Knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. So then now Krishna expands. What is that supreme perfection? By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own, right? So one can attain a spiritual nature, which is the sadhya. That is the goal of life. In the Vedas, there's sadhya and there's sadhana, like we said at the beginning. Sadhya means the goal, or prayojan, the necessity. And sadhana is how we can attain. The Siddha Bhakta has already attained. He's situated in transcendence. He has his relationship with Krishna. He has Siddha Swarup. He's situated in his awakened spiritual body, and everything is perfect. But we are sadhakas, at least myself, and that means we must learn what is the best way to perform sadhana. So Krishna is giving us all this knowledge, right? Thus established in the transcendental nature, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution, right? Because the material world is manifest and withdrawn, right? We discussed this last week in detail. When Mahavishnu, lying on Anantasesh, being attended by Rama Devi, exhales, the universes come into being. When he inhales, they all return into his body with the conditioned living entities. They go into susupti. We'll discuss that later. So, number 3, the total material substance called Brahman, right? So, we often think, oh, Brahman means the Brahmajyoti. But no, everything is Brahman. Everything is the energy of Krishna. So Krishna and Prabhupada is making that clear, that it is Brahma. It is the supreme. Our philosophy is Achintya, Bhed, Abhed. The Supreme Lord is one, but he has expanded himself into 3 primary energies: the Chit Shakti, the spiritual creation, the material creation, Achit Shakti, and the Jiva Shakti. They're the primary categories. So, but they're all non-different. There is no other source. Janmadi Yasyata. That is the second verse of the Vedanta Sutra. Everything has emanated from Krishna, so everything partakes of the nature of Krishna. It is all the expression of his Kriya Shakti, his creation, and he is within his creation. Right? Mother Yashoda saw that. Oh, the cowherd boy said, Krishna's been eating earth. Krishna said, Mama, that's not true. They're cutting jokes. Open your mouth. And Mother Yashoda looked inside, and she saw Krishna there, sitting on her lap, within herself, and all the other universes within Krishna. So she was, what is that? So everything is within Krishna, and yet Krishna has emanated everything. Now that is a very interesting, that is another point of a Chinchilaya Ved. Everything is within Krishna, but also Krishna has expressed things externally, so to speak. He's made the material world. He's made the Vaikuntha. He's made the jivas. They are his emanation, Janmadi Yasyata. But it all remains within Krishna. So that is not material logic, is it? But Krishna is the source of logic. Logic is his toy. He is not mastered by logic. He is the master of everything. There's nothing beyond me. I'm not subject to time, though I'm the source of time in the material world. I'm not subject to logic, but logic is subject to me, having expanded from me. I'm not subject to the law of karma, but it is part of my creation. So everything is emanated from Krishna, and yet it remains within Krishna, and so it is still Krishna. Just like Chit Shakti, what we were explaining last couple of weeks. Chit Shakti, what does that mean? The spiritual world is the Chit Shakti. Chit means consciousness. So that means in the spiritual world, people are living directly within the consciousness of Krishna. Just think of it that way. Like we are within the sunlight on a sunny day, walking. So the living entities, the liberated souls, they are within the consciousness of Krishna. They are reciprocating with Krishna within his consciousness. Therefore, the material world is often said to be like the external form of Krishna. Just like within our mind, we have our intimate thoughts and feelings within our consciousness. But then the body is external to our mind, which contains the chitta, consciousness. So the intimate part of Krishna is his consciousness, his mind is the spiritual world, whereas the external world is like his external form. Now this is an analogy, you understand? It is an example meant to convey an idea. But there, Mother Yashoda saw, yes, I'm within Krishna. So what are these points? At the end of the chapter there, purport, Prabhu said, the person in the mode of goodness can understand the science of Bhagavad. So if we follow sadhana nicely and we come to the mode of goodness, we can understand these things. But we should understand that this is what the great sages are doing. They're contemplating these ideas. They're not just, oh, that's a good idea. No, but maybe they're in a samadhi, considering how everything has emanated from Krishna, and yet everything, as Mother Yashoda saw, is within Krishna. And then they're getting intuition. Wow, Krishna is beyond the material logic, material circumstances, which I have to recognize with my body and my life in this material world. Material logic, oh, the gopis, they dance with Krishna for one day of Brahma in the Raslila. Sultan was coming, right? Time, space, logic, everything is the servant of Leela on the transcendental plane. Here, we are bound by time. We are bound by logic. We're, to a certain extent, because in Yoga sometimes people are letting the mode of ignorance, not bound by logical behavior. But that's another thing. But the idea is that this is the conditioned world. And by understanding how the three modes of material nature entwine and entangle and affect our consciousness, we can become detached through this knowledge. Knowledge, spiritual knowledge, gives detachment. Just like I was reading in 84th chapter, 10th canto, just today, when the sages came to see the Vrishnis and the Vidvasis and etc. And it says there, it was a very striking slogan. It said that one can lose attachment for married life if one gets married. It says that, right? It says that plainly in the text. And it says one can become detached from attraction to Swargaloka, the heavenly planets, if one contemplates the nature of tamaḥ. Now, you go to Swargaloka, but you're going to have to come back. You go on holiday in a nice place. As soon as you run out of money, they kick you out of the hotel. So, by understanding the falsity or the inebrities, the anartha, the unwanted nature of all these restrictions, one can become detached. But now you see, that means knowledge. But the average person, particularly they don't have spiritual knowledge, they're slow to understand it, mandavagya, and they become cheated, and they're agitated mind. So Lord Chaitanya has given us the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, to placate our mind. And if the poor conditioned souls that hear this mantra, they can think, oh, it's nice. And you see in the temple every day, right? The Delhi Wallahs, Lucknow Wallahs, the children, oh, they're dancing, they're enjoying. Do they know much philosophy? Perhaps, of course. Many are from traditional national families. We shouldn't dismiss them. But what I mean is they hear the mantra, they hear the 24-hour kirtan, and they feel liberated. Huh? So the mantra is especially powerful. But if you can back up your mantra chanting with siddhanta, spiritual knowledge, then it becomes a very potent combination. Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Smaranam will come. So anyway, you can't get too deflected. The total, yes, Brahman is the source of birth, and that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the birth of all living beings for son of Bharata. So if you remember last week, Lord Mahavishnu glances at the embodiment of the material energy, and that glance has the time factor, the conditioned souls, plus their individual desires, karma, and karma, their material reactions. And that impregnates the total material substance. That is Brahman, that is the Pradhan, and from the womb of that, the material, from the time factor, the three modes act upon the Pradhan. And we gave the example last week, right? You sometimes see on the internet, you can look, it's very interesting. They vibrate a plate, they put sand on top, and at certain vibrations a pattern arises. Then they change the vibration speed, and the pattern changes. So the time factor, plus the Shakti, plus the will of the divine, the design of the design of the Creator, this creates the varieties, 20 varieties of material nature. 5 gross elements, 5 10 mantras, sense objects, 5 working senses, 5 knowledge upon the senses. Then you have the mind, the intelligence, and the chittam, contaminated consciousness. They're all under the ahankara. So ahankara is defeated by what? Knowledge. So once knowledge is there from the Shastra, from the sadhu, then ahankara goes. It's not very difficult. You just hear from a sadhu, hear from Prabhu, you are not the body. And the root of ahankara is defeated. And the things that you think are yours, manam, deka, veva, all these things, they actually belong to Krishna, because he is the creator. So then ahankara is dispelled, and then one can come to the mode of goodness, and then go to Vasudeva state. So this is very important. Knowledge, by this knowledge, this is why Krishna is giving knowledge. So all this section, the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna is giving knowledge. Knowledge. What? To improve and facilitate and purify our devotion, and spirit it, to cleanse it. Yes. So, Krishna impregnates it, his potency, the glance. That glance, therefore, remember, we talked about last week. So in the Shiva temples, you have the glance of Mahavishnu, the lingam, and then you have the yoni. That is the embodiment of female Prakriti, and then you have Purusha. So that is what it is actually evoking from the Shastra. It is the interplay of Shakti and Shakti. Lord Shiva, the plants. And therefore it is said that Lord Mahavishnu does not directly touch the material energy, but his glance stimulates the material energy. He remains with it. Lord Shiva is that medium of flames. Yes, and all species of life are made possible by birth. And the eye and the sea giving Father, famous verse. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than others, is illuminating. That means it gives spiritual realization. The only real illumination is spiritual realization. And it frees one from all sinful reactions. Right? So that's very interesting, because we are bound in this material world by sinful reactions, arabdha and aparabdha. So all that is cleansed away by mode of goodness. And this is evoked, like I said, by contemplating the supreme way. And those who are in mode of goodness become conditioned by a sense of happiness. Oh, just like if you've had a good bath, you feel good and clean. So you might think, oh, life is not so bad. Then the taxman comes and takes you. So, this is the material world. Nothing is permanently good. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living beings. Yes. The Rakshasas and the Asuras and the Devas. This is, Krishna is giving it very simply, right? The mode of ignorance, mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, goodness. But actually often they're woven together in an individual. One person may be very learned, but then he may be having a drink. So he's mixing ignorance with goodness. One person may be passionate, so he's wanting to enjoy sensuality. That is the sura. But he is also taking intoxicated, so becoming rakshasa. So these modes are very terrible. Those that are in the lower modes, the rakshasa, like Ravana, their idea of enjoyment is domination. And this comes out in all their activities. They want to dominate and control. I am the big man. Vishnu, you are finished. I am going to deal with you. They want to be the supreme controller. And the Asura, wine, women and song. Oh, yeah, I don't want to be a Rakshasa, hung up, mentally crazy. I just want to enjoy the good life. So, Asura, not very pleasure. There's very little pleasure, but there's a touch. But the Rakshasa, angry, is always envious and dominating. And the person in mode of goodness is balance. It's nice, life is good. My wife loves me, my children are happy. Right? And then there's a war. Government drives you off to kill people. So there's no permanence of happiness. We are subject. Right? So then we come to number 10. So this is very important. But what does Prabhupada say in the purport? He says, by cultivating the mode of goodness, one can become illuminated, as Krishna says. And then that will defeat passion and ignorance. So that is what Varnashram, Vaidhi Bhakti is for. To take people out of passion and ignorance, to give them some illumination, and from that position they can understand the importance of life. The Rakshasa doesn't understand everything. The Asura is mode of passion, Rakshasa is mode of ignorance. They don't see it as very important. They are what they call nowadays narcissistic, self-centered, self-motivated. They have an agenda. And anything that impinges upon that is their enemy. But the mode of goodness person thinks, yes, everything can't have happened by chance. There must be a supreme creator. And so he can understand that, and he feels good. But he has to go beyond the mode of goodness. So I've heard the example given many years back that if you want to go to Vasudeva state, the transcendental state, then that is like the mode of goodness is the best place to take off. It's like if you want to go flying, you go to the airport. You don't go to the jungle. You take off from the airport. So you can take off to pure goodness from goodness very easily. So we follow sadhana bhakti, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, what's the other one? No intoxication. Why do people take intoxication? Because they're dissatisfied with their consciousness. So we also believe very much in intoxication, actually. But we want to be intoxicated with Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. If you have Nam Ruchi, then you spend your life in intoxication. But it's perfectly legal. You will eat less, so it's cheaper. So anyway, so also we find this is in Mandaka Upanishad, if I remember correctly. They talk about these states of consciousness in relationship to these three modes and transcendence. And we experience them. Now, if we have this knowledge in an individual basis, the three modes are manifest before us. For example, inertia, that is one thing Krishna says. When a motor car is stopped, what mode is that? Tamaḥ is inertia. When it's accelerating, what mode is that? Passion, yeah, because you have to use more petrol, more effort, more activity to get it going. When it's gliding down the main road, mode of goodness. So if you have knowledge and you sit down and quietly think, you can think about these things. But we want to go to Vasudeva state, Sudhava. So the Upanishads, they explain, yes, how a further way for us to understand and become detached. And that is Susupti Swapna, Jagraha, I may not pronounce it that correctly, and Turiya. It's also in the 11th canto of the Bhagavad-Gita. Susupti means deep sleep. That is tamaḥ. When we sleep at night, sometimes we wake up in the morning and we say, I slept like a log. That means you were in susupti. What is susupti? It's described in Vedanta Sutra. Susupti is like the consciousness, and he gives the example, that an eagle flies in the day, where it sees the night coming, so it comes and it rests on a shelf on the side of that mountain, and it withdraws its wings and takes rest. So the consciousness in susupti is that deep sleep. It is dreamless, and the soul has pratyahara, withdrawn from the material energy by going to sleep in a dark place, and then the consciousness becomes withdrawn and becomes almost inactive. And it is very refreshing because, again, in Vedanta Sutra it explains, some people say, okay, if you're conscious, because it is a Brahman state, it is a root state. So somebody may ask, and the questions there in Vedanta Sutra, dialectics, well, if we're going into a Brahman state, susupti, how come we come out with our karmas and corrupt the karmas, unmanifest? How are we not waking up completely purified? And the example is given that just like this bottle of water, this is me in susupti. and I've entered the river. But so I've taken the same temperature of the river. I've picked up the energy of the river, but I haven't mixed my consciousness, the water within this, into the river. Understand? So, by the arrangement of the Lord, we go into Susupti, and our consciousness is encased in Brahman. We are situated, but we are maintained in our karmas and our aparabdha karma and manifested karma relations. But because the consciousness is withdrawn, we're not agitated. Right? Then the next level of consciousness, Upanishads, is swapna. That means dreaming state. That is associated with mode of passion. Right? When we dream, what do? My dreams, my aspirations. Or some bad dreams, some bad effect or a bad person. And so this is the level of the mind and the desires. So sometimes we dream, I'm flying in this car. The girl I should have married from high school, she's still with me. Instead of the one I did marry, and she's stealing all my money. So we dream in this way, we fulfill our dreams, and so on and so forth. And yogis, they have a way of waking up within the dream. It's interesting. And then they enter into this subtle world, this mental world. So that's called swapna. That is dreaming state. And they have, scientists that put on these electrical things and they test people's brains. And they notice that when people go into dreamless state, I think it's called tathā, they have different names. And then they come out into swapna, into a dreaming state, and then they often go back into swapna when they're asleep. So they go from ignorance to passion and back to ignorance. And then we wake up, and that is jagra. We can see the world. That means this is our waking state. And this is associated with goodness. That now I'm not dreaming about things in the past or things I like or I don't like. I'm not completely dreamless as in Sushupti, but now I am dealing with the material world and I am aware of things and my friend who this and that and want to do this. So that is compared to our goodness. But throughout the Vedas, and then there is the fourth state of consciousness. That is called turiya. It is above the dreamless state, the dreaming state, and the waking state. Right? We all experience these three. But turiya is the Vasudeva state. That is all pervasive. And that, to become situated in that, that is the position of the rishis, the perfected devotees, the siddha-bhaktas, so on and so forth. That has three aspects to it. First one is, because we know from Bhagavatam, Brahma. So some people, they meditate on the effulgence. They have just that knowledge. They meditate on the supreme effulgence. And you get many people that have this idea. They don't have idea of super soul and Bhagavan. So they're meditating and they feel peaceful, shanti, expansive. Now, according to the level of their guru, but they can attain the Vasudeva state. Krishna in the 12th chapter says, is asked by Arjuna, which is better, the impersonal sadhana or the personal? And Krishna says the personal, because if you are embodied, the impersonal state is hard to maintain, because the body will drag you down. So they can attain some status, but then we find it Vishupanishad, Ramayena Patrena Sattvam. please Krishna, remove your glowing effulgence, your Brahman effulgence, and let me see your form of bliss. So the first form above the Brahman, the Brahmajyoti, the effulgence, golden effulgence, that attracts the impersonalist meditation, is the meditation upon the super soul. So if you meditate, this is called caiva. Their search is for caiva. And they can do it in two ways. They can meditate on super soul as an observer of his potency, of his transcendental position. And then they can also attain caiva at certain oneness. And then there is ahanga upasana, and that it means that if somebody properly educated, intertwining of it, but then they meditate, yes, there is super soul. And now I am one with super soul. And I am controlling time. I am controlling the karmas. I am controlling all matter of nature, time, space, in this material world. Now this is a perfectly valid form of meditation, if you have the proper knowledge. And this is how yogis get mystic cities, animal cities, 20-secondary cities. They unify their consciousness, and then when they're unified with super soul, they may request super soul, please show me these events in the past. Please show me these events in the future. Speak for the beyond. Because Krishna knows everything, so he can reveal anything to you. So this super soul meditation is done by the mystic yogis. They use surpassing prayers to get this unified nature with yeah. But if they want potency, they meditate on the potency of the super soul. The knowledge and the mystic power. According to the meditation on super soul, certain mystic powers may be bestowed by the mercy of super soul upon that individual soul. But above that is, for all devotees, Bhagavan. And that means the Supreme Personality, Param-Purusha, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, how do you meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Sattvaṁ, 2 words. If you want to meditate on Brahman, you can enter into a kind of oneness with the others. You can meditate as a witness upon Super Soul, and you can try and enter into the consciousness by the grace of Super Soul. But then, if you want to relate to Bhagavan, you have to do it with sattvaṁ. What does Krishna say? Tesham sattvaṁ yuktana bharitam itikurvatam. Meditate upon Krishna with a loving attitude. How? You hear about Krishna, you talk about Krishna, you describe Krishna, you have kirtan. You meditate upon Krishna, all the knowledge that you got from the Shastra and Guru. You do some service to Krishna. You install a deity, you follow Narada Pancharatrika. You recite the Brahma Samhita, Purusha Archana, Vandana, Dasyam. You develop the attitude of Dasya. I am the servant of the Supreme. And then Sakya, I am the friend of the Supreme. And he is my friend. Because Krishna is within the heart, but he's in the heart as a friend. And he knows his devotees, and he realizes his devotees, he protects them. So this is the way that the bhakti-yoga enters into union with Krishna through sattvaṁ. And that develops his swarup. Because you realize Krishna, and then you realize your relationship. Just like if you can't realize your relationship with Narendra Modi until you have met Narendra Modi, right? You meet Narendra Modi and then you develop a relationship. So first you must realize Krishna, then your relationship with Krishna will follow naturally. So that is a mistake in sadhana. Many people think, I want to do this in Krishna Lila and meditate upon themselves in that. No. First realize Krishna by Sharma Kirtan, by sattvaṁ, by following the direction of Guru, by meditating on Krishna with loving attitude. But important point in that verse, Krishna says, Ye tamaḥ prapadyante. So, bhajitam pritipurvakam means we meditate upon Krishna and we cook things for Krishna, we discuss Krishna, we hear about Krishna with cābhibhūya. And then with loving attitude, we cultivate that. We read about the gopis, the cowherd boys, Mother Yashoda. We try to catch that mood of service that they have. So we study Krishna Lila, Rupa, Nama, Guna, Rupa, Lila. And we try. But, important point is here. Bhajitam pritipurvakam. And what does Krishna say next? You're a student, you should know. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. So what does that mean? I give buddhi yoga, now Prabhupada often translates that perfectly, as bhakti-yoga. But Krishna is making a certain point. Dadami buddhi yoga. That means I give the intelligence by which they can come to me. That's the practice. So that means buddhi, what is buddhi? Buddhi is the mode of goodness purified, a good intelligence. He knows what should be done and what should not be done, and he is determined to do that which is fruitful for my spiritual advancement. So Krishna, he will reveal from your bhajan the right understanding and the right path, but we have to choose. This is the point. It is not automatic at this point. We are still sadhakas, so we are given an understanding, the path. But we have to choose. And therefore this verse here, today's verse is, if you cultivate the mode of goodness, and you cultivate Nam, Guna, Rupa, Lila, Nam, Rupa, Guna, Lila, and the parishads of Krishna in the Lila, then you have to choose. That means that you have to take the order of Guru as your life and soul. You have to decide on that basis. Krishna will make it clear, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. And then he emphasizes the point. Tesham evanukam patam aham prajnanatam tamam. The eye with the shining lamp of knowledge, this is now progressing to bhava-bhakti, dispel the darkness form of ignorance. You know, the eye will dispel it. If you choose correctly. You understand? So Krishna will open your intelligence, buddhi yoga, dadami. I'll give you that. You have to make the right choices. You have to decide, yes, four regulative principles, irrevocable. Well, that's no illicit sex yet. You can get married, but get married to a lady who will become your partner in self-realization. Oh, no meeting, no gap. That means, okay, that's the negative. I will only take Krishna prasad. No gambling. What does that mean? Oh, that's negative. I will not waste my time in sporting activities or keeping in touch with the latest cricket score. But I won't waste my time. And then intoxication. I will not take all these intoxications that are in place. I will become what kind of intoxication will I take place? I'll become intoxicated by the holy name. Right? So this is the bhakti-yoga. It's not negative, just, oh, I won't do it. What's the positive side? So we have to choose to do those things that are suitable for Krishna. Bhakti-yoga. I give the intelligence by which they can choose to walk the path to me. You understand this point? So Krishna will give you intelligence. 1 minute. We have to finish now because we have plus people. But we have to do the choice. And so that's what we have to realize. Nietzsche said the Krishna frames are everything we have. We have Krishna frame, sleeping in the heart. We have these wonderful books by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta, Bhakti-yoga, incredible books. We have the Satsangavas, we have the Vedanta Sutras, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Bhagavat. But we have to dedicate ourselves. We have to choose that. And then you get the result. This is the point. By choice, you go back to Godhead. Don't think, oh, it'll happen automatically. No. You may put food in your mouth, but you have to chew it. You have to do the work. So, and that application, sincerity, in our sincerity is our perfection. If we follow the order of Guru and Sadhu and Shastra, Pramana, in a constant way, then we can be 100% certain of developing Krishna consciousness. But we have to do it. We have to make the right choices. You see this point? So that means everything is in your hands. Don't think, oh, I'm not intelligent, I'm never passing that. I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm an old lady, I'm a young man, I'm this. Don't think there is any obstacle. There is obstacles, but there are no barriers to your advancement. You understand? Yes, there are obstacles, there are material obstacles, but there's no stopping point. There's nothing that can stop you. Why? Because Krishna is the ocean of mercy. Lord Chaitanya is coming at Nityananda to give you mercy. But we have to choose to take that mercy. So you have everything in your hand. Don't think that there are any problems ahead. The only problem is regulated devotion. You understand? Then you'll reach perfection. And how will you become inspired in that way? You'll become inspired if you study the wonderful nature of the spiritual world. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram, Hare. So sorry to take extra 5 minutes, but never mind. In the spiritual world, there's no time. Keshi Daman Prabhu ji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.